Welcome back. In the previous steps, we looked at how to define an around advice and we implemented performance tracking using that. So what we did there was we implemented a method execution calculation aspect where we defined a point cut and we intercepted all the methods which are defined by this point cut. In this example, we would want to actually have an annotation define that we have to track the performance for that specific method. So instead of tracking everything, instead of tracking all the methods in the business layer, I would want to implement an annotation. So if you put an annotation on this DAO method, then I would want to track the time for that. Let's implement that feature in this specific step. The annotation I would want to use is at track time. So if somebody puts an annotation at track time on their method, then we would want to track the time for that. So I'll create an annotation track time. I'll create the thing in Spring AOP aspect. With an annotation, you can define two things. One is I would want to use track time only on methods. I don't want to use it on classes. And also the annotation information, I would want it to be available at runtime. Even when the program is executing, I would want to be able to have that information because that is what is used to check and track the time for that specific method. How do I do that? There are a couple of annotations. So I can say at target, I would import this in, and at target, I would only want to intercept what? Methods. Element type dot method. And we would want to be able to have this information at runtime. How do I define that? I would need to have a retention policy. Retention policy dot runtime. Import the retention. I can put this annotation on method and I can retain it at runtime. So this would be available at runtime. That's pretty cool. So now on the DAO1 method retrieve something, I would want to use the track time. Once we have defined the annotation, what we can do is now use this annotation to define a point cut. So I'll say right click, copy qualified name. I can go to the common joint point and define a point cut for this. So I can say track time annotation. And the way we can define a point cut using an annotation is very simple. So point cut, and over here I can say at annotation and put an open bracket and close bracket around the annotation. So be careful about the syntax. So it's at annotation, open brace or open bracket, and within that the name of the annotation and also the close bracket in here. I'll remove the semicolon which was there at the end. So this is how we would actually define a simple point cut. So now I can use the time track annotation in the method execution calculation aspect instead of the business layer execution. So instead of tracking every method in the business layer, we would be only tracking those methods which have the at track time annotation defined on it. We now have at track time annotation defined on the DAO1 retrieve something method. So let's see what would happen. You can see that the only thing for which the time is tracked is for DAO1 retrieve something. If I search for times taken by execution anywhere else, it would not be there. So if I want to track more methods, let's say I would want to track the business method also with the time, then I can say at track time. So now I'm saying track the time for this specific method also, and you'd see that now track time would be executed twice. Time taken by execution, this is DAO method, and time taken by execution, this is the business method. And you can see 21 and 38. That's pretty cool, right? So over here in this step, what we looked at is defining a custom annotation. So if you want to implement a custom annotation and do some functionality on the methods which define that annotation, we looked at how to do that using AOP in this specific example. AOP is a lot of fun, and during the last few steps we had a lot of fun with AOP. We did a lot of different kinds of advices. We implemented our own custom annotation, we implemented performance tracking, we used different kinds of advices, we understood all the different concepts related to AOP. Until the next step, bye bye.